Nice-u joined here today with the very talented Burger Kim. Finally getting a chance to work with you here, Burger Kim. How are we feeling today?
Yeah, great. I'm super excited. I took a quick break yesterday because I casted the group stages, and finally we get to see all these 8 teams kind of go head up against each other here. And these are top teams that we're talking about here in Games of the Future.
Top teams. I mean, again, 8 teams are what we have left. So I feel like, you know, they've all made their way to this point in the tournament, of course. And there's a lot of people that are wondering exactly how today is going to end, because even yesterday, you know, it ended late in our time zone here, but there were some surprises, of course. And let's go ahead before we come on screen and take a closer look at the matchup today. Let's take a quick look at this video.
Мощнейшая энергия созидания, способная объединять народы, вселенные и сохранять баланс мироздания. С развитием технологий люди стали больше...
Mau maghrib live-nya? Iya Bang Jasnaki, soalnya jam 6 memang jadwalnya tuh jam 6 Bang. Ya gua aja habis mandi Bang. Udah mandi belum Bang Jasnaki?
Гармония переродилась жар птицы мира отправилась сквозь вселенные в поисках героев, способных вернуть утраченную энергию. Избрав 5 сильнейших представителей, мира собрала...
Udah barusan juga. Oh udah mandi, alhamdulillah udah mandi Bang.
Они стали хранителями гармонии.
Ayo kita nobar Bang, nobar yuk.
Советом было принято решение провести турнир, победитель которого распространит гармонию по свету. Для этой цели Куб преобразовал частицу гармонии во флейм, древний артефакт для сбора энергии.
Гармонии.
Выбрано место для проведения турнира. Город с самым сильным соприкосновением энергии. Именно здесь миллионы зрителей и сильнейшие атлеты примут участие в играх всех времен, чтобы определить достойнейших и восстановить баланс миров.
Баланс.
Welcome back once again. It's me, Nice-u, joined here with Burger Kim. And that video was much longer than the one I was a part of yesterday, Burger Kim. It gave me the lore of the trophy, the cube that we see on stage. Now I understand it. That's amazing. Exactly what kind of it stands for. And
Belum mulai bro. Biasa bro kalau jam 6 ini rada ngaret ini. Nanti kalau lama ya maghriban dulu kalau udah azan bro.
Yeah, we're gonna be kickstarting it off with this one. Of course.
Iya nih kikir ini nggak tepat waktu cuy.
It's a very highly anticipated matchup too. Like we got the Burmese schools here. Oh, DLARR playing. Together with
Oh ya ini lawan DLARR ya.
Most picked and most banned. Ruby still stands on top, followed by the Claude. Over near the side, the join of Matilda. This is actually a permanent
pembuktian DLARR ini cuy.
For the other teams that are playing here in Games of the Future.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about this, because you know, when me and G were casting their game yesterday for Burmese Ghouls, it was very dominant against Twisted Minds. I mean, and G was kind of asking, you know, play style wise, do they fit that personality of the Burmese Ghouls, and especially with the additions of, you know, the new faces, at least for the rest of the world, and maybe not so much for us here, Kim, but you know, having DLARR there, having Soxa part of it, and kind of rounding out the lineup. I mean, what do you think of them so far, and especially yesterday's performance?
Yeah, I think overall, like, you know, come on, I've missed seeing DLARR play. And apart from that, you know, I also want to highlight their coach, by the way, from Burmese Schools. They're actually going to be playing with Mr. Worldwide, or the coach who has been to every single region. Coach Dale is also coaching them. So I think that's also a big factor that we have to look at here.
We do. You know, that's... I don't know if everybody knows the nickname Mr. Worldwide for him, but it's, you know, it's true. And it's great because we actually got to have him. We had an interview with him. This is like the end of last year, 2023, and he talked about his experience, like being Mr. Worldwide, right? Going around sharing his knowledge to all these different teams and regions.
Ini live Mobile Legends gua kenapa dolar kuning semua, Dok?
Discussion about it even yesterday. We had some of the matches to start yesterday and how that effect is.
Kenapa nih cuy? Video ini dapat memperoleh pendapat iklan terbatas, tidak memperoleh sama sekali karena konten ini dianggap sebagai tidak cocok untuk sebagian besar pengiklanan. Kami menggunakan kombinasi otomatis dan penjualan untuk mengatasi pelanggaran apa cuy? Kok dolar kuning anjir? Waduh, hari ini banyak dolar kuning nih ya. Live team kemarin juga dapat dolar kuning ini. Gua harus hati-hati cuy.
legacy that they've already established themselves. But this is like a new iteration of it for a lot of
What's
people
wrong, bro?
watching RRQ for a long time.
Main HSR nggak kena, main Genshin kena.
Changes that we have.
Deus Vault kemarin
Is this
nggak kena.
what they need right now? And I feel like
Lilgan kemarin nggak kena. Terus kenapa cuy?
to test some of those things out and get the year started.
Kenapa cuy?
Yeah, it's perfect, right? It's right before these
Joki
major
nih, Joki
tournaments
banyak
all
banget
around
yang
the
kena,
world,
Cok.
for MPLs, Indonesia and
Live
Philippines.
Joki
I think
ngapain?
this is
Gua
kind of like
gua ngapain Joki
either a
doang
test
perasaan.
to their chemistry,
Perasaan
what
nggak
they can
ada
put down,
aneh-aneh,
are they
cuy.
well adjusted to the meta. I have to highlight a little bit about RRQ too. Like, since we're gonna be looking at their roster, they got Irad playing for them and Brusco. And just a little trivia about Brusco, because I've been following him since the amateur scene. It's so nice to see, and there was a time that he actually said that it's gonna be really hard. Like, he's not sure if he's gonna make it. There are moments like that. So it's nice to see him,
Aneh.
come into MPL, then eventually get picked up by an organization like RRQ, right? That is big. Irad and Brusco, they definitely have a lot to prove here, and I think it's really a big thing for them to carry RRQ.
Halo guys, selamat malam guys.
I'm glad you pointed them out. And
Sebentar ya.
most people might be like, man, a lot of people talk so much about like these roster imports or these
Masih
changes.
lama nih kayaknya.
Right.
It's true. I mean, there's a reason why it is, because you have to consider that dynamic change. Irad specifically, we know so far, I would say, from the meta for games of the future, a lot of people have been weighing like, all right,
Masih lama kayaknya guys ya.
is the best choice these utility junglers? Is the best choice maybe opting for some of these assassin type junglers? And with junglers like Irad, with junglers on the table, even like Saksa, right? You have that utility factor in itself, like flexibility, right? So once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the live stage, by the way. So
Wow.
we got a glimpse of this
Beautiful.
yesterday. And you can see there's quite a few members out there watching this. The stage looks amazing, and that is you can see the trophy. You'll get a closer look at it actually.
Oh ini baru ada stage-nya nih guys, bener nih.
Because yesterday's video,
Ini bener nih baru ada stage-nya nih. Kemarin nggak ada cok.
whole history or the story of it, but now makes sense. And,
Tapi casternya masih caster ini cuy ya.
It's very impressive.
Masih caster Discord anjay.
Like, oh, it's a trailer about the trophy. Actually, I didn't notice that because I was busy mentally preparing for like what to say in the opening.
Kok coachnya malah coach
I love
lah.
how we have
Casternya
these
masih
kind of,
caster
like,
ini cok
little
Discord cok.
trailer.
We talked about this yesterday, actually.
Oh wow, you did too.
Yeah, because we're
Testing,
gonna see them
testing.
walk out the stage, of course, here, and still performance.
Testing, guys.
These guys that have been making names for themselves.
Live-nya masih jalan nggak cuy?
Skylar, especially able to pull things like that off and make it work. I think that's a very special thing.
Tuh kan Bu ada stage-nya. Oh iya bener katamu Bu ada stage-nya Bu.
Limited edition new
Real ada stage-nya
Not sure if
cuy.
we'll get to see those in person, but the point with the whole Layla
Real
thing,
benar kamu Bang
that's what I
Daisy.
love, and I was telling this to
Kamu
the
pasti
G
dari masa
this
depan ya.
weekend, like some of these, you could say non-meta picks, like these niche picks or whatever you want to call it. Like I feel like we're in a current.
Clay-nya belum dimainin ya.
It's like you can do some of this.
Clay
you
belum.
can experiment. You can pull something off, and really all it comes down to is if you're confident enough to pull off that strategy. And something as simple as like, oh yeah, Layla might be really.
Layla, gua masih ingat Laylanya Scalar ya.
That we're used to seeing, but they made it work. And
Ini kalah langsung pulang kah? Nah ini nggak tahu nih Bang.
making their way to the stage.
Ini soalnya kan udah
Here after this,
harusnya udah ke ini ya playoff ya.
Tim, I gotta say,
Harusnya sih turun lower bracket sih harusnya ya.
for both
Wah ada DLARR guys ya, mantap ini.
do you think the Burmese Ghouls kind of have to like
Apakah EVOS DLARR bisa membuktikan di sini guys ya?
RRQ?
Yeah, I think
Kok DLARR-nya kayak
Burmese
tampilannya
did a
jadi
good
culun
job,
gitu,
actually,
guys.
Back in the group stages where they were also pretty aggressive from the early game. So I think it boils down to the draft too. Like if you're gonna give like Saksa here or Irad those types of heroes, like
Ada DLARR
if you're already
coy.
aggressive from the start, like Glass Cannon heroes like Joy, Nolan. These are the things that you have to consider. Even the Martis too, that is super good in the early game. And Burmese schools had that type of composition actually in the group stage. So hopefully, let's see if they can balance it out with RRQ. That kind of aggression that they want to show out. And so far, like I think.
Halo Bang Ahmad, selamat malam guys. Welcome semuanya guys yang baru datang ya.
It's not an easy feat to actually reach this point of the tournament.
Yeah, again, based off what we saw yesterday,
Ini menarik sih karena ini lagi apa ya, baru ada di stage. Gua yakin tim-tim yang sekelas RRQ yang udah bisa di stage kayaknya nggak terlalu terpengaruh ya. Kebalikannya kalau tim-tim yang masih kayak tim-tim ecek-ecek harusnya sih kena mental biasanya, bro.
I would say like minor mistakes on some things, especially when it came to setting up when they drafted. And I feel like that's going to have to be in check here, you know, for this game against RRQ if they really want to move forward, right? Because we do.
Tapi sayangnya guys, casternya masih di score ya. Sayang banget.
So much you can do in a best of 3. And you know, I'll ask you this, Kim, because I liked to ask G's idea about this and, like in the best of 3. Yeah, so is this like the time that, do you think game 1 really is the time to just throw out like this experiment, or do you go back and stay with your fundamentals or your basics here, because these are two teams that really, there's a lot of variability that can pop up even in game 1?
Yeah, I think at this point, right, everybody pretty much has an idea of what everybody's comfortable with in the current meta. We've seen the stats already so far, and it seems like it is centered around these chain CC.
Kayaknya lama sih guys ya. Nanti kalau misalkan 18.15 atau 18.20 belum mulai, aku magriban dulu aja ya. Soalnya nih kayaknya bakalan lama nih match pembuka nih kayaknya ya.
And I mean, clashes after clashes, and it's all because of these CC type of heroes. So I think for Burmese schools, right, if they want to keep up, maybe possibly get a really good draft against RRQ, we started to see the shift also. Instead of like putting your resources to take down the gold lane, like I see a lot of these teams kind of shifted to the XP lane, which kind of like carries the momentum of the game, right? Like I've seen DLARR do that. He was so good in like,
XP-nya ini berarti DLARR lawan Banana guys ya. Nggak sempet lihat waktu di MPL Indo tuh DLARR main lawan Banana, kita lihat ya.
That has to be looked upon here for both sides.
I think with building off of that, you know, when you're talking about the objectives, you know, for the most part, I still feel like this is.
Aku jadi ada kepengenan ini guys ya, apa namanya? Jadi caster guys, kayaknya jadi caster tuh seru cuy.
They were very action based and they wanted to just clash it out and things like that. But of course, like over time, a lot of these teams have developed that sense of, all right, these objectives, we really have to master the dance. Because I think for a lot of people watching, like if let's say they're just kind of casually watching the esports scene, or maybe if you even compare it to the diehards out there, they know that there's a certain like to a lot of these like turtle takes and these lord dances. Like, that's why we call it a dance, right? I mean, that's the
Lord dance,
because it really is that. And I would say that with the additions here to Burmese Ghouls, they
Lord dance
a really good job at kind of developing that play style around that. But they're still very aggressive. And if you say the same thing about RRQ Hoshi here, they're a team when sometimes when you think they're like down and out, there's like that it factor for some of these players here, right?
Somebody else,
whether that's any of these guys on that roster, specifically from Indonesia, like they can
Joseph
through, and it's scary how that can happen, right? Because sometimes there's always that when games do like
Kimberly Mas ini mukanya kayak Asia gitu ya, bukan bule Rusia gitu guys.
That can pull a miracle out, right? It doesn't always happen, but it's definitely a possibility here. And once again, while we wait for a draft for game number 1, that's where we're going to see things kind of fall into place, right? Because we already saw again these top picks, these top bands that have been coming up. We see a lot of, when it comes to Rome, we see a lot of that set potential. That's the reason why Ruby is, I think she's the top right now. I think she's actually most picked. Yeah, I think she is the most picked so far hero.
Wajar RRQ yang ngevote dikit buat. Masa dikit banget? Wih, yang 47% Bang Ferdi, bener juga. 17 suara yang ngevote, tapi yang komen cuma 3 orang. Kenapa tuh guys? Jangan malu-malu komen guys ya. Komen. Halo Bang Ferdiansyah, selamat malam ya. Sambil aku nih di tab yang lain, ini aku lagi main HS hari ini ya, sambil nungguin ini lama banget
A very good win rate, let's say like
lama bingit.
So yeah, I mean, it is a priority, but it doesn't guarantee you like an overall win. Yeah, but apart from that, I want to talk a little bit about the other picks too that haven't like surfaced, like Joy, Matilda. Actually, Joy was that
Gacha
number
Hanabi
one
nggak Bang
snipe for the
Ferdiansyah?
RRQ debut game. It was actually
Yeah.
given to Irad, and that's a really good choice when it comes to like aggression in the early game. So I'm still not
Malam
so
bang,
sure. Will these picks
gue
like
nunggu
go
juga
for
sambil main
super
Dragon
aggressive
City.
things?
Dragon
Like
City
there
itu
are
apa
times that
bang?
I will
Game apa
also
bro?
see like Fanny bans, like respecting Irad there, Lancelot
Game
bans coming
Facebook
through. So
kah?
I'm not so sure if they're gonna go for utility right now or are they gonna go for assassins because we're talking about like Sakura or
Gacha
Irad,
Hanabi nggak
two
bro?
of our like homegrown talents here in the PH,
Anjir
right?
yang ngevote RRQ cuma
What's funny is
47%.
with Irad
Enggak,
specifically,
gue lebih
like
suka Ceron. Iya
at least
sih.
for me, for
Gua
the
udah
very
coba
old
gacha sampai 60
programmers,
kali
of
full
course,
nggak
like
dapet,
I
belum keluar
loved
jadinya
for the
udahlah
longest time
simpan aja buat
Saxa was a
Aceron.
part of the broadcast team RSG, and so
Takutnya
with
nggak
the team
dapet nanti
commitment
kalau
coming
keluar.
up, and then Irad came in. And he had this
Hanabi
whole
bisa lah
big
nunggu
rivalry
Rirun,
between him
nunggu Reran.
and Carl Tizzy in one of the
Oh
seasons and
yeah, yeah.
whatnot. And I was like,
Tapi
man,
Hanabi juga
Irad has
bagus sih buat
developed into
supportnya
an exceptional
Daniel,
player, like over the seasons.
buat
And he's
Daniel,
one of those
buat
players
partian
because
yang boros
there's
SP,
a lot of jungler players out there that
kayak Sele juga
like
oke.
they don't want to like sometimes even I've heard this from some of the coaches that we've interviewed like
Tapi Sele
sometimes
pakai Tingyun juga udah
even if they
cukup.
want,
Tingyun,
this
SW,
sort of draft, sometimes they
Puhuan
will, of
udah
course, take into
main.
consideration of what the player is saying.
Kayak butuh nggak butuh sih itu Hanabi
Irad and
sebenarnya.
players like this will be like, you know what? I'll take the Lancelot. I'll take the Joy. I'll take the Nolan. I'll take some of these like riskier heroes.
Ini event sama gue kagak gue kerjain soalnya kalau nyari jada dasar seret banget. Seret banget asli, lebih seret dari Genshin karena Genshin kan ada explore-nya kan lumayan luas sama event, jadi lumayan banyak primonya ya. Quest-nya juga banyak kalau di Genshin. Sampai mual tuh. Quest-nya sampai mual cuy.
In those minor decisions of being able to get that retribution off or being able to play from the backside and work around it. So Irad is specific there, I think, but him and Saksa, I think is when you're comparing.
Oke, ini kayaknya lama guys ya, gua maghriban dulu karena udah azan. Gua tadi niatnya live cepet. Tak kira kayak pas RRQ yang kedua kemarin lumayan cepet, ternyata sama aja bro. Saya salah.
One thing that's apparent here, Kim, is
Oke, aku maghriban dulu ya Bang Ferdiansyah ya.
A lot of the flexing that can happen here with
Nanti aku balik lagi.
Yeah, I was thinking about like Saksa here. I
Masih
actually
lama
got
ini.
a chance to interview both of these players, and Irad is that. I mean, it shows in their playstyle. Like Irad is a bit more aggressive, a bit more confident. So you can see like the assassins.
Makanya gue simpen quest dasar sama eventnya walaupun habis bisa dapat jadi juga. Ya dikelarin kan juga dapat jada bang, bisa disimpan bang. Nyimpennya stellar jet bukan nyimpennya quest. Aduh, mau sholat malah traffic bangke bangke.
More of like follows like what the entire team
Gimana
wants.
guys
Kind
ya?
of like a team player, right? But I'm not saying
Gua maghriban dulu lah ya, bentar doang nih guys ya. Maghriban doang bentar ya.
I can pick up that assassin. Just
Maghriban nih, wah ini salah ini gamenya nih cuy.
Yeah, and I get what you mean too, and I like the fact too that you kind of bring that perspective because I know you've done a lot of that like report. I don't know if that's the right term, but like a lot of like that reporting work, through the league and everything else. So you get to kind of spend a little more of that time picking the brains of, some of the players here, of course, in the Philippines. Now, as we're getting through this first phase of the draft, you can already see the bans coming out, the Barretts. The Nathan is taken out. I was wondering if this would be also banned out. Joy is constantly banned, so that's taken out. But the Novaria, a pick that obviously RRQ Hoshi loves to play, and it works well. I mean, a lot of teams love it because of the vision and the burst potential. So what are we feeling, though, will be possibly priority here as we get through these last couple bans in the first phase, Kim?
Wow, the Novaria here. I think this is also like one of the most picked so far, like overall in the entire Games of the Future. The vision it gives, the pokes, even the wave clear is so good. So I think for Burmese schools, Nico is that type of mid later. Like there was a time he went 2 games straight with a Paquito in the mid. So I feel like Burmese schools is kind of trying to go for that kind of composition once again. Like if you're talking about RRQ being aggressive, Burmese schools has that composition that can be aggressive and at the same time like it can be like a split push type of composition. We've seen that Paquito in the mid lane. I think it's also a
Yeah.
flex pick that comes out from Burmese schools. I'm not so sure if RRQ she will respond immediately by taking it, but there's a lot to take in here for the first phase. I was thinking about the Ruby, which seems to be a standard first choice, but Guinevere here for the side of RRQ Hoshi, which I think is a very safe pick. It's a flex pick. Like you can go with it in the jungle, you can go with it in the XP lane, sometimes even the roam. So super flexible. We're talking about the flexibility. I like that coming out from RRQ, but Burmese schools can either answer it out with a Ruby and a Claude here being picked up. One of the most picked heroes as well so far in the tournament, and has a very good win rate, by the way.
Yeah, not to mention, Stitch had some MVP performances on this as well, and they're going to work around that. Not to mention, picking the Ruby, like you said, it's top pick right now, but we'll have to see again if they're actually able to utilize it the way they need to, because, yeah, so far, we don't 100% know where the Guinevere is going. We can assume that maybe it goes in the jungle, maybe it doesn't. Even yesterday alone, we saw it even in the roam. So with that, again, where do they go from here? They take up the CC, they take up Nana. So this is a lot of damage already in these first three picks. Nana has been a menace. You know, her and Melina just wrecking havoc right now so far. And this,
I mean, when you look at her photo, it doesn't look like it, right? When you look at her photo, it doesn't look like it.
Kim, you know?
Yeah. It is. I mean, we've talked about this with Private. I think the only time we've seen this was like, well, it has appeared in multiple games, but I think I love this coming out from RRQ Hoshi, showing us that, you know, the Nana is not only a beast in ranked games. I know you guys know what I'm talking about. It appeared several times, not to mention, I like the adjustments that were made to it recently. Like the Molina can actually not stun one person, right? You can stun like 3 people. So like for RRQ so far, it has that great burst combination. Burmese schools immediately answers it out by picking up the Akai here to kind of shake things up. But at the same time, I'm not so sure if this is a good pick up against like the Nana. Like the Nana's Molina kind of counters out the Akai, right? Like when you pop the heavy spin. So I'm not so sure, but for Sox, right, he's kind of taking away or kind of picking up this Akai already, since there were 2 bans centered towards him in the first phase. The Barretts and the Martis were already out. Some of his most picked heroes so far in the tournament.
Yeah, and it's funny with that because Akai popped up yesterday as well a couple times, and you know, even if you're playing into a Nana, I feel like it can still work. It can still work okay, because really when it comes to the positioning, you know, getting the lockdown with the heavy spin, the way that works, and sometimes it's not even about getting the lockdown. It's actually the way that you can utilize it, and we've seen this happen before with Saxa, is just, hey, push them away from the objective. Again, you know, we talk a lot about the dances, the objective dances, and that's one great tool or utility, I guess, that Akai brings, is sometimes you're just pushing the other jungler away so that you can get the retribution off and work off of that. So again, a lot of CC available to them. Claude scales up. We know that he can.
Halo guys, sorry.
Pushing those side lanes, putting pressure there if it's not controlled. But right now, as we get through this second phase here, Kim, a couple more.
Cici, Nana, Guinevere, ben-benanya ada Barat, Nathan, Martis, Lapu-Lapu. Oh, Lapu-Lapu di ban. Oke. Lapu-Lapunya DLARR kah? Hero signaturnya DLARR masih ada ya, Uranus. Terus berarti masih stay. Makasih Bang Fadiansa udah nungguin aku sholat. Makasih. DLARR itu ada Uranus sama Esmeralda, guys. Cuman untuk sekarang kan kurang meta ya. Claude, Akai sama Ruby. Tinggal butuh sini butuh mid laner sama. Bingung ini Rubinya mau kemana nih? Rubinya roamer atau Rubinya XP? Masih bisa nih berdua ya. Cici, Nana, Cici, XP, Queen jungle, atau bisa roamer. Vexana di ban. Ada Nana, ada Gwyn. Ini bisa ngambil Digi kalau mau. Akainya jadi jungle. Akai jungle, Ruby, XP. Ini masih bisa ngepick Digi ya. Faramis, oke, lebih aman Faramisnya ya. Kalau misalkan ada temennya yang diloncatin, Faramisnya purify. Kalau Faramisnya diloncatin baru purify, terus di ulti. Oke, make sense. Paramisnya berarti mid laner. Paramis mid laner, kiri butuh roamer atau butuh god laner lawan Cloud. God lanernya Nathan udah di ban. Joy Harit dari kemarin lumayan populer di Onyx ya, tapi nggak tahu kalau di RRQ ini populer atau enggak sih. Kalah kayaknya ini RRQ. Kenapa bang? Kok banyak banget yang ngevote RRQ kalah cuy? Emang kenapa cuy? Bruno sama Minotaur berarti gue-nya jungle fix. Gue jungle Minotaur nih dari sisi kiri RRQ-nya lumayan banyak sisinya ya. Otomatis Cloud-nya harus bawa Purify. Tapi kalau bawa Purify dikejar-kejar Cici lumayan struggle. Tapi Cici lawan Cloud sih harusnya Cloud yang menang kalau udah late game ya. Gua vote RRQ sama aku juga vote RRQ bang. Siapa tuh yang nggak vote RRQ cuy? Tinggal roamer Minotaur. Ini bisa frontlaner lagi, bisa support ya. Kayak Matilda, Matilda di ban. Yuzong, oke, Yuzong XP buat ke Bruno. Berarti Rubinya jadi roamer, akainya jungle, oke. Ya, salah. Menarik. Gue lebih suka draftnya Burmese Gold ya, jujur ya. Jujur gue lebih suka draftnya Burmese Gold, cuman ya gue masih berharap RRQ-nya bisa menang lah ya. Soalnya lumayan komplit, di situ ada hero cover, ada hero inisiasi, CC, flanking ada Yuzong, damage-nya Cloudo oke banget.
I guess Nana's kind of meta now, but for the longest time she wasn't meta. So I like that she still fits into this this whole play style for a lot of these teams. So talking about magic damage, talking about sustainability, they have all that here for RRQ. Burmese Ghouls on the other hand, like I said, they're gonna have to play around the utility that they bring to the table with these picks, right? The Ruby, the Akai, and everything else.
Oke, masuk game ya. Aduh nge-lag nih cuy, di home cuy. Suara YouTube-nya kegedean gak guys? Apa kurang gede apa gimana guys? Aman gak? Lagian juga ini suaranya kan suara caster Inggris buat tim aja ya. Gue penasaran sama Nananya bakalan build apa dan emblemnya apa ya untuk sekarang, karena kan Nana udah sempet di nerf ya, Oke, DLARR aman ya bang ya. Oke siap. Oke, Blink namanya Blink ya. Oke, Cloud-nya Purify ya. Cloud-nya Purify. Nanti kalau misalkan dikejar-kejar sama Cicinya enak tuh, nggak ada flicker soalnya. Tapi masih ada dash-nya ya. Masih ada blink-nya. Kerannya ini ya, Battle Mirror Image ya. BMI, bro.
I think it's better they play it safe again when we're talking about exactly what is at stake here, right? So for now, let's see once again.
Oke, secara di atas kertas Cici lawan Yuzong di level 2 itu Cici yang menang guys. Asal pinter jaga jarak ya, jangan maksa ya. Kepoknya sakit banget Cici coy.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's a minute in, no first blood. Kind of expected to see this from, of course, RRQ and Burmese. They want to be a little bit more careful. Kind of going in for a lot of these early game pokes first.
Diretri kah?
Like this XP lane choice.
Oh, nggak diretri. Tapi diambil bukunya. Oke. Gue penasaran kalau cuma ngekill doang XP-nya terus nggak guys? Ini kan dari sini ya, banana ya dari segini. Kalau ngekill, oh cuma nambah segini doang. Cuma nambah doang ya. Coba kalau ini yang ngambil, yang padannya ngambil, buset, banyakan ngambilnya daripada last hitnya sekarang cuy ya. Banyakan ngambilnya cuy. Jadi kalian kalau last hit tapi nggak dapet yang drop-dropannya itu, XP-nya lumayan rugi tuh ya. Soalnya lebih gede yang diambil daripada yang last itu tadi XP-nya bro. Oke, naga. Oke, nice. Petri. Paramis. Wah, bahaya iratnya lewat situ, Cok.
Yeah, that was a very good zoning.
Buset, iratnya masih berani ke depan ya. Kamera. Yang dapat buah biru siapa tadi, cuy? Yang dapat buah biru tadi siapa, guys? Iratnya retri nih ya. Iratnya cooldownnya retri, bro. Pandanya nggak ada retri, otomatis irat dong yang dapat ini buff birunya, cuy. Dapat turtle, dapat buff biru. Wah, mantap ini ya. Dan iratnya berani meskipun darahnya setengah, habis turtle gas aja, bro ya. Oh ya benar tuh, iratnya yang dapat buff biru ya. Buff birunya irat belum diambil nih. Oke, level 6. Iratnya level 6, pandanya masih level 5, selisih 1 level. Oke, ini bruskonya di sini kelihatan di atas. Buset, rubinya GG. Rubinya GG, kita ulang lagi guys, replay. Set. Keren banget rubinya, bre. Ulti flicker, nariknya di belakang tembok, otomatis udah nggak bisa lepas dalam turret. Waduh, itu catat tuh ya di situ ya tempatnya ya. Dari situ tempatnya narik flicker bisa sampai turret, coy. GG. Ilmu cuy, mahal tuh cuy. Buset, menang Yuzong. Baru mau gue bilang. Tak kira menang Yuzongnya tadi, ternyata terlalu ini ya, ukil ya. Cerdas, kekuatan rakyat, oke.
But not be able to get anything. Burmese School so far, they got that nice first blood. They got it in 2 pickoffs, but it's still RRQ Hoshi leading, all because of the turtle takes that they've been taking. And
Skylar level 6, Irat level 7, pandanya level 6. Oh, udah nyusul sekarang ya pandanya.
To the XP lane instead.
It's a good choice. I mean, a lot of these rotations happening here are very smart on both sides. You know, for the most part, early game. Not anything too crazy happening.
Bruskonya nggak ada ulti. Scalarnya datang. Cetas. Oke, naga. Oh, udah dibilang Ake lebih oke guys kalau ini cuy. Irat mati. Soalnya jujur draft sebelah kanan ini lebih oke guys ya buat tim fight ya. Kedua romer RRQ ini bagus menurutku, tapi Naomi kurang di meta healer doang. Ini juga Brusko juga belum kelihatan pakai healer, Bang. Belum yang healer banget lah ya. Kayak Rafaela, Estes, terus siapa Florin gitu-gitu belum kelihatan, Bang.
It kind of backfired here onto RRQ, and now so far Burmese
Gedas, Paramis ulti. Oke, aman, masih aman.
The way of course NetherRealm works, it buys you a little more time and they're going to be just fine.
Naomi udah keluar Bang Ferdiansyah, kalau belum tahu ya. Naomi itu udah keluar, Bro.
Skylar as of the moment, he's gotten all the gold plating over on the top side. Not to mention that he's been pushing the lanes.
Nah, kalau kayak gini kan nontonnya enak guys ya. Ada muka player, ada ini.
And so far he's been taking this turret now almost to 1/4 HP. They should be able to take this. Great map control here for RRQ. Great space that they've made, especially since they still need to take in the last turtle and possibly the next.
Gue tahu Naomi di Farpel. Iya udah di Farpel, Bang. Udah lama itu.
You don't see anyone leading as of the moment because everybody
Okta, Brusko.
Is kind of a little bit careful when it comes to all these.
Goldnya masih sama. Goldnya masih sama guys, meskipun killnya ada di Burmese Gold, tapi RRQ dapat turret ya. Sama sih, dapat satu-satu turretnya. Oke, Nana ya, Nana. Nana sekarang sampai dibawa ke MPL, berarti emang hero-nya masih bagus guys. Oke, Turtle, setup Turtle.
Third turtle of the game though for the taking here. Both teams getting in position.
Banana ngepop.
Only Skylar down on the bottom side. So both teams.
Skylarnya sendirian di bawah.
The difference maker could be that gold lane having that available. You can already see in the mid lane.
Oke, Claudia-nya pulang ke bawah.
Going to go down bottom. Team's going to be fighting it out 4-on-4 here for this third turtle. Taking it slow.
Kamera bawah coba bang, kamera bawah bang, lihat bang, Baywan Bruno sama Claudia bang.
Once again. Still looking for an angle here.
Bruno Claudia bang.
In the front lines. No one committing just yet. They're trying to feel this out. Yeah, they have to. There's some pressure though.
Oke, nggak ada yang komit, nggak ada yang komit.
RRQ still.
Oke, Skylarnya datang di komit nih. Skylarnya datang di komit. Komit nggak nih? Gas, war. Cetas, flicker. Oke, Faramis ulti. Waduh, Skylarnya aman. Ruby udah ulti. Skylarnya free, belakang. Oke, masih ada healnya, nice banget. Pinoter, dash-nya mana dek? Dash-nya nggak ada, Guinevere cooldown. Oke, Feng, cut. Oke, Cici pun belum cukup damage ya. Waduh, korbannya lumayan banyak bro ya. Lulu. Buset, dodge-nya cuy.
Wow, so much back and forth here, Kim.
Yeah, we kind of expected this.
Waduh nih, Banana udah pakai Brave Smite, pakai emblem ini, spell farm ya. Festival of Blood nih nggak pulang-pulang ini cok. Spell farm terus. Ngepok terus. Oke, coba kita lihat itemnya. Nana Genius One sama Glowing One. Dia nggak bikin buku guys ya. Tapi dia emblemnya emblem mage ya, setahu gue ya. Bruno masih sama, Huxclaw sama Berserker Fury. Yang sisanya masih standar, nggak ada perubahan ya. Masih sama, gue penasaran sama nananya doang sih. Kalau gue biasanya beli buku dulu cuy, biar nggak boros sama cooldownnya lebih kenceng ya. I don't know nih. Mungkin dia bakalan mainin skill 1, skill 2 sih ini kalau Nana begini guys. Jadi lebih spam skill 1, skill 2 deh. Kalau pakai ulti dia ultinya juga lumayan kepake kalau war, kalau mau cooldownnya lebih cepat lebih oke sih. Bisa beli buku mungkin nanti ya. Oh ngerti gue. Kenapa dia Genius One dulu? Karena di sini ada Guinevere guys. Guinevere itu damage-nya magic. Genius One buat nurunin magical resist atau magical apa ya? Magical defense musuh. Jadi nanti ketika ada musuh yang kena skillnya Nana atau jadi kelinci, si iratnya masuk, itu iratnya damage-nya rada kebus ya, dikit. Lumayan lah. Genius One ya. Oke, Lord menit 10.
And you can already see Skylar very confidently just kind of poking down what he can. Shield's already taken care of as well in the mid lane. But right now, Burmese
DLARR.
defense.
For Burmese Ghouls and RRQ, what they both have in common right now is the timing of the ultimates. The Nether Realm here, the Blazing Duet. Even for the side of RRQ, the timing here of Brusco's setup, he does have the flicker here. They want to go.
Buset, ditarik. Brusco. Oke, Brusco-nya dikomit. Brusco-nya belum mati. Nice banget. Nice, pengen. Banana. Nice. Oke, nice timing. Heal-nya dipakai, nggak mati Brusco-nya. GG juga ya. Udah di all in kayak gitu nggak mati, cok. Just dapat, nggak ada ulti Faramis. Nice, mati satu. Brusco-nya juga mati. Tuker DLARR. Mati 2, mati 3. Tinggal base aja bang, base aja nggak sih bang, base aja bang, base bro, base bang. Waduh nggak bisa bro, masih ada Faramis cuy. Masih ada Faramis, oke masih ada satu wave. N, nice. Kelar mode MU, Lailanya mana ya? Nggak ada bang ya. Bagusir mainnya DLARR tapi kok pas di EVOS kagak dimainin, kenapa ya? Katanya sih komunikasi bang, katanya. Tapi nggak tahu juga bro.
they actually calculated all of
Terus
their
kok permainannya meningkat guys, gue lihat ya. Gue lihat dia udah lumayan meningkat lah.
used up all of their ultimates.
Dan dia lebih cocok pakai hero yang beginian sih menurut gue daripada yang Chow kemarin itu. Chow Nima itu.
Have that selective targeting on those heroes, right? Like Brusco was down.
Ya, alhamdulillah lah ya guys ya, ada improvement. Matinya udah sedikit sekarang Minotaur. Kalau kemarin Chow tuh lumayan matinya banyak banget sih. Mandi saya, mandi bang. Nah, tapi kok sama tas bisa aja tuh si DLARR. Jadi katanya tuh komunikasi ngobrol sama komunikasi in game itu beda bang Fadiansa. Jadi komunikasi in game itu perlu cepet dan perlu detail bro. Katanya sih begitu kata si tas. Tahu juga bro. Aku bukan manajemen EVOS bro. EVOS di sini. EVOS di sana. EVOS. Oh bahasanya, iya bahasanya maksudnya bang, bahasa in gamenya gitu. Kalau ngobrolnya sih udah lancar, udah lumayan lancar.
For Stitch, he was able to kind of have
Malam po, malam.
kind of have that killing
Malam
spree.
po.
Even in these clashes, you can see he's been popping in these.
Ayo nobar po.
Timed really well.
Masih ya DLARR masih belum fasih ngomong Indo.
Hard for RRQ host.
Yang pasti itu Yawi tuh baru berapa ini udah fasih coy ngomongnya. Yawi. Ngawi.
Once it's all down, it's gonna
Ngawi
be
belajarnya cepet banget tuh.
for them to go in for the engage, and as you can see this for RRQ, they were willing to take down the backlines. Here you see a nice setup here from Irad, which kind of enabled
From
all
Irad.
the rest of RRQ to actually make the plays. As long as Skylar is safe here, as long as he's protected here for RRQ Hoshi, they could have locked in the tower. And for Burmese schools, they lack that kind of wave clear here for their side. They did.
Oh iya anjir, EVOS Ngawi lancar bot. EVOS Ngawi bukan EVOS Ngawi bang. Dua kata lucu itu bang, hati-hati bang. Dua kata lucu kalau kata netizen bro. Kasih karpet merah bang, karpet merah. Oh iya buat sepuh bro, karpet merahnya mana bro? Buat sepuh. Sepuh lumpuh. Streamku didatangi oleh sepuh bro. Kayak orang Jawa aja yang rantau ke Jakarta. Iya namanya lucu banget EVOS Ngawi gitu cuy, asli. Netizen emang paling pinter coy ngerangkai kata-kata lucu coy. Oke kita cepetin aja ya. Dan ini udah lebih mending lah dari yang kemarin soalnya ini ada stage-nya juga guys ya lumayan. Nanti kita lihat penjelasannya dari casternya mungkin kalau misalkan RRQ menang kayak gimana, kalau misalkan RRQ kalah kayak gimana, pulang atau kayak ada lower upper bracket. Gua nggak tahu nih di sini gimana. Tapi kayaknya sih lancar sih ini harusnya matchnya lawan BURMESE. Soalnya timnya juga hitungannya kebentuknya baru kan, baru ada DLARR kan. Keren sih Brusco pas make Chow kemarin. Keren bang, keren. Keren banget bang, flickernya mentok tembok bang.
They kind of needed a little more time here, and RRQ knew the assignment. They're just like, yeah, we're not going to give you guys the time.
Ya lumayan lah guys ya untuk debut awal-awal kayak gitu ya udah oke lah dapat kemenangan lah ya. Bayangin kalau debut pertama kayak gitu RRQ kalah, waduh hujatannya gila cok. At least menang lah. Tapi nggak tahu nih kalau ketemu sekelas PH atau AP Brand kayak Blacklist gitu-gitu nggak tahu. Ini soalnya ada kan di sini kan. Ipos di sini. Ipos di sana. Ipos anjay. Lawan dua raja susah nanti ini RRQ. Dua raja tuh siapa aja bang? Raja Langit, Onyx, satunya siapa bang?
I keep forgetting that these are like just BO3s, like
Yeah,
huge
it's just a
matches. Like these
BO3.
are BO3. There's just only so much you can do, right? Like the adjustments that you have to make, knowing that, and
Ishin
even the
Doki.
pressure, thinking about that the next match is gonna be a match point for you, and if you don't win it or if you don't take
Jadi ini
it,
gamenya yang belum tahu adalah best of 3 series. Jadi yang menang 2 kali duluan, dia yang menang guys ya. 2 game ya.
they're kind of reacting to what RRQ actually put out, right? Like they had burst, they answered it out with the fair miss, but they pretty much didn't think about like the overall picture of like
Infos
how
di
that
sana.
will pull in together, right? Like they had the
Yeah.
for what RRQ did is they worked in on those turrets. They gave so much space also for their team in that
Bang.
early game. So for the side of Burmese schools, I think they kind of have to play it out, of course, real safe here in the second game, and at the same time maybe try to go for what they did in the group stage, like picking
Kayaknya
up
masih
the
lama
in
nih ya.
the mid lane, or maybe perhaps like going for a little bit more of like comfort picks rather than reacting to the draft here of RRQ.
Yeah, I feel like if I had to pick something apart, like I understand the Faramis kit and how it can provide.
Abe Brand sama Onyx, kalau Onyx menang dari Blacklist berarti raja yang ketiga udah tumbang sama Onyx bang, jadinya tinggal oh iya. Blacklist itu juga rosternya lumayan bukan baru ya, tapi kayak player-playernya tuh baru dari sini baru digabungin gitu maksudnya. Soalnya si Jai siapa sih romernya namanya ya? Siapa gantinya Ome Venus dulu tuh yang di M5 tuh siapa namanya? Lupa gua. Mukanya gua ingat, nickname-nya lupa gua. Jadi dia itu rehat, bro. Rehat.
We are buying enough time for our Claude to farm up, and it just didn't get to that point.
Siapa ya namanya ya?
You were talking about what they could do here. I personally think that what I'd love to see Burmese is do kind of what they did yesterday,
Siapa namanya guys yang mantan XP laner guys yang blacklist terus jadi romer guys? Yang di M5 kemarin romernya siapa namanya?
Maybe this means put DLARR, put a Paquito in DLARR's hands so he can be a little more proactive and a little bit more like of a threat.
Ya sebaliknya begitu bang, kalau Onyx kalah ya lawan 2 raja dari PH dong RRQ. Oh iya benar juga. Harusnya enggak sih. Dan semoga aja enggak ya bang ya. Kalau aku juga lupa siapa namanya guys ya. Lupa dah, udah lupa kan.
Okay, he's been picked 6 times. Like it seems like a struggle for the Yuzhongs to really work right now, especially when they're dealing with how much.
Juga berharap Onyx menang juga. Iya bang, semoga Onyx bisa membalaskan dendamnya waktu di M4 M5 ya lawan apa brand ya. Tim Agent udah main bang. Tim Agent itu siapa bro? Indo Pride, yoi Indo Pride bro. Semoga Onyx bisa membuktikan ya meskipun di turnamen non official Game of Future ini. Semoga aja bisa. Bang Drian pindah Dewa United. Iya udah tahu bro. Dia pindah kan. Ya mau gimana lagi, dia mau main mid lane saingannya Sans. Ya kan? Mau main roamer saingannya Keyboy. Udah jelas udah nggak dimainin itu. Susah Drian udah. Jadi cadangannya sekarang kan diganti Albert. Halo Bang Noik, sehat tak? Sehat alhamdulillah Bang Noik. Kamu sehat nggak Bang Noik?
Like that's what RRQ was doing. They were pressuring the lane. So if DLARR was on something like a Benedetta or a Paquito, these can go for split pushes. But being in the Yuzhong earlier, it kind of forced them to be, okay, I have to be in the team fight. I need to have that black to zone everyone away. So I think for Burmese, just go back to what they know. Go back to what they're.
Oke, udah traffic guys ya, udah traffic. Let's go kita traffic lagi. Traffic lagi. Ini first picknya siapa nih ya? Oh, first picknya Burmese Gold karena dia yang ban dulu. Novaria, Cici. Baratnya udah di ban ya? Berarti ada lagi dong first picknya. Novaria, Cici, Barat. Kasihan Drian jadi camata body sampai di farewell ya, gimana lagi bang? Udah nggak bisa bersaing soalnya bro. Martis kah? Martis, Cici, Novaria, Barat, hero-hero OP zaman now ya.
still that way with these last bans in this first phase.
Ini nggak tahu gua kalau lawan Burmese School template bandnya apa
Yeah,
ini.
BG
Soalnya
here
tadi di
is,
game tadi nggak ada yang terlalu menonjol sih hero-nya.
I mean, I'm not so sure if
Tadi
DLARR
ada yang
has
menonjol nggak guys hero-nya guys? Kayaknya nggak ada ya.
But looking at this hero
Bang
pool,
mau
he's
kencing
one
dulu.
of those
Oke
heroes
Bang,
that
Bang
can
Badiansa.
play
Mau
mobile,
ditemenin nggak?
take care of itself. I mean, he's the general after all, so he can has to be the one to like lead the charge.
Joy, oke, Joy-nya di ban.
Schools. I think for RRQ Hoshi, they have a good idea of like banning away these utility type of heroes that
Joy,
are
Joy, Joy,
slow
Joy.
and picking up. Last ban is gonna be the Matilda here that still
Oke, Matilda di ban. Oke, emang Matilda ngeselin sih. Kombonya sama jungle tank tuh ngeselin. Waduh nih. Caster satunya menghilang dari lane cuy. Caster satunya menghilang dari lane nih gimana nih guys? First pick Guinevere. Oke, kanan bisa ngepick Ruby yang flex. Ruby flex pick sama apa guys satunya guys? Ruby sama apa ini? Tebakan gue satu ada Ruby lah. Gue nggak terlalu paham untuk hero OP zaman now cuy. Oh Cloud sama Ruby. Yang bisa flex pick. Oh Nana bro buat counter Gwyn gitu ya. Kalau diloncatin Gwyn meskipun sekarat masih ada pasif ya kan enak. Cloud juga enak lepas dari Gwyn. Oke, berarti nggak mau ngambil Ruby-nya dulu ya. Minotaur bisa diambil buat counter Cloud, tapi terlalu kelihatan kalau diambil sekarang. Udah kelihatan kayak Minotaurnya jadi roamer. Udah. Pak Vito, oke. Pak Vitonya juga ini masih flex, bisa jungle, bisa XP guys. Jadi ini flexnya banyak banget, flex picknya banyak banget. Bruno, oke. Oke, tadi Cloud-nya di musuh, Bruno-nya di Skylar, sekarang ditukar. Sekarang ditukar ya. Romernya apa nih guys? Minotaur oke nih. Minotaur oke, terus nanti ngepick yang bisa ngejar Bruno-nya biar nggak pakai flicker ya. Biar pakai purify Bruno-nya.
Confusing right now, especially for let's say some of the people who just come in, they're pretty new to the meta. Nico has actually flexed this Pakito in the group.
Ruby bener ya, ada Ruby guys ya. Jadi ini mau nggak mau Bruno-nya bakalan dipaksa jadi pakai purify. Otomatis hero-hero yang dive in ke belakang kayak Yuzong itu harusnya ditutup. Soalnya bahaya buat Bruno-nya. Bruno-nya bakalan bawa purify soalnya. Atau bahkan mungkin Faramis juga masih oke buat mid lane. Faramis di belakang buat nge-cover si Bruno. Rafaela di ban, oke. Bruno, Rafaela atau mungkin Digi Bruno kah keluar kah di sini kah? Lancelot di ban, nah itu tuh ya yang hero bisa ke belakang. Jungle yang bisa ke belakang atau enggak ini tinggal misalkan Ruby-nya jadi roamer berarti butuh XP. XP-nya yang bisa ke belakang. XP-nya yang bisa ke belakang adalah masih ada Yuzong. Yuzong masih oke sih. Oke, Groknya ditutup. Groknya di ban kenapa guys ya?
That's the thing about her, right? She's kind of squishy. So they don't go that route. They do.
Buat nutupin Ruby kah?
Which was again in this lineup that they have very similar.
Ruby lumayan lemah lawan ini Grok soalnya cuy.
One of the components to this lineup for Burmese Ghouls, and so they decide to take that out.
Selamat bedah IndiHome ini. Waduh, kamu pakai IndiHome bang. Akhir-akhir ini emang rada lemot cuy. Akhir ini emang rada lemot. Kenapa nih Burmese Gold ya? Butuh jungle sih yang udah pasti. Fanny keluar tuh. Kalau Fanny bisa, Fanny bisa banget, bisa banget. Oke, Arlot di sini di ban. Soalnya butuh hero yang ke belakang, gue bilang tadi ya. Soalnya kan udah ngepick Ruby, otomatis Bruno-nya bakalan pakai Purify. Jadi perlu hero yang bisa ke belakang ngelock biar Bruno-nya nggak ada flicker karena dia pakai Purify cuy. Fanny bisa banget. Kok kamu gantengan bang? Emang iya Bang Jimmy kan selalu ganteng Bang Jimmy, parah banget. Habis mandi gue. Fanny bisa atau enggak, tapi ini jungle-nya kebetulan belum kelihatan ya buat Burmese Gold ya. Bisa Pakuito, bisa Guin, Fredrin tetap cari aman, oke. Tapi ini kalau mau Fredrin juga masih bisa di XP nih. Fredrinnya di XP, Ruby-nya roamer masih bisa. Cuman sepertinya Fredrinnya jungle ini. Fredrin jungle, Paquito, Bruno, Guinevere. Ini pick satu ini harusnya mid laner guys. Mid laner Aurora masih ada cuy. Aurora nggak dipakai kah? Tapi Aurora jalan kaki hero-nya coy. Diloncatin Cloud lumayan susah. Back sana Valentina ngopi ultinya Ruby. Bang nggak ngerti ini mid lanernya apa guys? Mirip-mirip kayak Nana soalnya ada pasif ya Aurora.
I prefer the Valentina. I mean, the Aurora is great though, but it can't burst down the tanky front line here of RRQ.
Valentina, oke.
I like this coming out.
Valentina Baxia, berarti ini bisa ngepick Dirot. Terus Ruby-nya jadi roamer. Dirot oke banget. Buat XP-nya ya. Atau enggak roamernya Ruby-nya XP, roamernya ngepick satu lagi, kira-kira apa guys? Kalau ngepick yang CC kayaknya rugi karena Bruno-nya bakalan bawa Purify coy. Paling bener sih Ruby-nya udah bener roamer sih. Oh Minotaur, oke, dibanyakin CC-nya ya. Dibanyakin CC-nya berarti Ruby sama Minotaur, Ruby-nya XP berarti.
Get the items that he needs,
Ruby-nya scalar bro.
I mean that's why she's picked up so much because the early damage potential is very.
Ini kok nge-lag ya?
So the fact that you have a Valentina now is actually going to put you up to par with that, not to mention just having Terrify in her kit.
Ya, emang IndiHome-nya lagi nge-lag bang, sorry ya bang ya. Padahal pakai Fanny enak tuh. Mungkin mikirin bisa dirusuh sih bang kalau Fanny bang early bang. Soalnya rata-rata untuk ngepick Fanny itu lumayan banyak syaratnya. Jadi jangan sampai jungle-nya jungle tank. Karena kalau musuhnya jungle tank itu dirusuh itu udah nggak main Fanny bang. Kalau di turnamen udah kayak gitu bro. Kalau di rank mungkin masih bisa bro. Ini kamera casternya masih ada bang. Halo bang. Halo bang. Bang. Aku mau nonton. Oh iya alhamdulillah. Oh iya anjir. Telat ngantuk itu kayaknya operatornya cuy. Soalnya ini main cepet, iya main cepet bang. Gak ada yang mau main lama sih sebenarnya. Cuman kalau Fanny asli kalau early-nya nggak dikasih blue buff susah sih. Makanya mungkin nggak dipick ya. Cari aman bang. Guinevere-nya apa ini berarti? Guinevere-nya roamer. Oke, Guinevere-nya roamer ya.
Tas.
Oke, jadi kelinci. Bisa mati nih. Baksiannya bisa mati. Oke, di cover. Ini Okta nih senang banget kepick Nana cuy. Brusco. Oke, Irat rusuh, Brusco mati, ditukar. Irat. Oke, kena panis ya. Itu tadi Iratnya mau ngambil jungle ijo yang kecil di sini malah kena panis guys. Soalnya ketahuan guys ya. Oke, mistake early bro. Di sini harusnya si Irat ini ketinggalan level guys. Nah itu nih, Baksiannya udah level 4. Gara-gara tadi mati 1, Iratnya masih level 3 cok. Harusnya udah level 4 ini, menit 2 nih jungle wajib udah level 4 guys. Soalnya udah mau ke turtle cuy. Ah ini bahkan Baksiannya udah level 5 bro. Baksiannya level 5, Irat masih level 3 cuy. Ah ini baru level 4. Datang ke turtle. Oke. Dilepas sama dia. Tahun, oke, nice. Coverannya. Barudaknya mana? Barudak. Ketas. Oke, mati Irat. Brusco-nya balik lagi, cok. Banana. Woi, nice. Masih ada stun tadi ya. At least nggak kosong-kosong amat lah ya di trade ya killnya ya. GG banget di detik-detik terakhir itu banananya ada stun ya. Banananya juga kayaknya terlalu cepat buat ulti ke DLARR-nya sih bro. Bisa ulti ke 2 orang atau 3 orang tapi dipakai buat satu hero cuy. Ultinya Ruby sayang banget.
They kind of like, okay, you know what? Burmese schools is going full aggressive. They actually.
Goldnya BURMESE School mimpin.
Brusco actually flickered out there. What's really hard here too for the side of Burmese schools is like.
Oke, scalarnya udah purify ya.
Front line. Like we're starting to see the damage coming out from the Nana, which we'll see even more later on. Like 2 kills already for Okta here, which is kind of something that Burmese schools have to watch out for, especially.
Saya di blessing 2 depan muka, cok.
Even here on the top side, we have to check the laning phase here of Stitch and Skylar, and so far Skylar has been doing well up against this Bruno as compared to earlier. Like
oke, masih ada heal. Awas diloncatin Guin bang, udah nggak ada purify bang, Scalar bang. Mundur bang. Scalar yang main gua yang deg-degan anjay. Gaji pemain berapa tuh bang? Wah nggak tahu bang gua. Tanyain coba bang kalau ada punya teman bro. Nggak tahu gua. Yang jelas di atas UMR bang, gede bang. Apalagi kalau menang bro. Brunonya juga pakai purify masalahnya bro.
Yeah, you see how Burmese schools also position themselves over on the top side, right? Kind of anticipating that RRQ Hoshi might actually create some pressure here up against Stitch. As long as he's fine, right?
Oke, masih chill. Goldnya udah beda 2000 cuy. Burmese gold. Irat level 6. Taksanya level 7. Beta 1 level cuy. Wah, kadang asal bagi rakyat Indonesia gak ada anjir gaji dan UMR. Wah, kadang asal bagi rakyat Indonesia gak ada anjir gaji. Gada tuh maksudnya gimana bro? Pentungan gada gitu. Surya sebatang apanya bro maksudnya? Gimana maksudnya kamu ngetik apa bang? MT bot tipe ya? Oke, flicker. Cetas. Dapat retirat. Terus konya flicker. Oke. Nge-cancel ini ya retrinya Baksi ya guys ya tadi ya. Makanya Minotaurnya flicker. Barudak. Wah, tipis. Bakarnya nggak ada ya. What? Nice. Banana flicker. Okta flicker. Dapat lagi. Untung cuan ya. Maka HP doang dapat duit di atas UMR enak banget. Ya coba aja bang jadi pro player bang MT bot yuk. Kalau enak coba aja bang, gasken. Blessing duet. Kena geprek. Geng-gengannya ngeri banget. Depannya ada MM sama tank, belakangnya ada Kelincinya Nana mau kemana, Bre?
Yeah.
Baru dak.
Nico not going to be able to connect on his
Bruskonya
own.
nggak takut mati guys, Bruskonya guys ya.
Still will he be able to get away? He doesn't as Blink gets the
Brusko mati, it's okay ya.
So still a lot of
Untuk sekarang goldnya udah sama.
him economically though it's pretty much even with all the action here, and now it's the 5-5 even across the board.
Yeah, if the economy is kind of equal, what you kind of take a look at is, do they have the map control? How's their gold laner doing? And so far for RRQ, this is what they did in the last game, right? Getting
Oke, turtle-nya di atas. Pro player lawan penjoki kira-kira menang siapa, Bang? Kayaknya pro player, penjoki lawan kamu menang kamu tuh, Bang, kayaknya, Bang. Udah dipastikan, Bro, menang kamu, Bang. Kalau ketemu di rank, nggak tahu, Bang. Pro player lah, pro player nggak menang, Bang. MT pot itu cuy. Gila lu, sepuh dilawan, Bro. Sepuh dilawan, Bro.
And space-wise, yeah, it's RRQ. They've got 2 turrets. Burmese Ghouls, though, they don't care right now, and they're going to be making their way to this next objective, the turtle. If they can secure
Oke, turtle setup.
just a little bit, deal with this. But right now, look at this. RRQ doesn't want to go ahead and just give this away. They want to fight for it and get this positioning. Burmese Ghouls getting the first turret of the game for themselves here on the top side.
Cetas. Oke, bukunya loncat. Banana flicker. Oke, tarik. Oh, Valentine ngambil ultinya Ruby. Mati Brusko. Sakit banget sih Pakito sekarang cuy, apalagi di build damage anjay. Pakitonya buildnya apa ya? Hunter Strike ini kah? Ya, Albert. Oke, Valentine dapat ultinya Ruby. Secara map kontrolnya kedua tim ini sama guys, sama-sama hilang turret atas ya. Atas sama bawah ya. Goldnya juga nggak terlalu beda jauh banget lah, 1000 doang. Oke, Guinevernya udah flicker. Retri, nice zoningnya. Ngezoning tuh siapa? Scalar doang nih guys ya. Ini guys ya. Ini namanya makro guys. Ini namanya ini kan turtle-nya di sini tinggal segini ya. Ini otomatis jungle musuh nih bakalan maju dan bakalan ngambil retri di sini. Aduh, retri istilahnya ya. Jadi kalian sebagai marksman atau ya misalkan pakai Cloudo bisa kayak gini atau enggak, yang paling utama sih XP guys ya. Ini banana di sini siap cancel kalau misalkan boxnya masuk, atau mungkin bahkan roamer juga bisa cancel atau bantuin jungle-nya biar nggak dirusuh pas adu retri dengan cara kayak gini nih, nutupin. Nah nih, boxnya mau kemana ditutupin, di stun sama banana tuh ya. Nih tadi ditarik sama banana nih, set tuh di stun ya. Jadi jungle-nya tinggal retri lah, enak. Jadi ngepick hero XP laner kalau bisa tuh yang bisa war di turtle gitu, bisa zoning maksud gua kayak gitu. Bisa zoning, bisa nutupin hero. Kalau ngepicknya damage susah itu. XP-nya damage susah tuh. Gak bisa kayak gitu cuy. Kasihan jungle-nya bang. Kasihan jungle, kasihan roamer. Nanti roamernya udah megang belakang atau megang depan, harus suruh TB, buka map, zoning. Aduh, jobnya berat banget di roamer nanti bro. Kalau XP-nya bisa kayak gitu kan lumayan, bantu-bantuin roamernya guys. Bantu-bantuin roamer, bantu-bantuin jungle pas adu retri, nebein spell, nebein ulti. XP-nya gimana tuh, bisa nutup, bisa damage juga. No comment bang. Kamu coba aja bang. Aku bahas XP laner yang ada di turnamen aja ya. Lagi Navi tim tim apa? Navi tim Eropa kayaknya bang, kayak yang tim Dota bang. Seingat gua kayak tim Dota bro. Tahun baru dak tembak, nice, brunya mati. So RRQ clapping back, looking for DLARR. He's on the run into the jungle. He goes banana. Oke, kena tarik set. Masih by one DLARR sama ini Papito. Buset, dikejar, DLARR-nya dikejar, pojok kanan guys, pojok kanan guys. Bukan, jir, gua keinget memenya itu ngakak mulu, gua setiap lewat tuh. Hah? RRQ versus Navi. Navi tim apaan? Meme yang mana, Bang?
Yep.
Gak tahu aku, Bang.
He was successful though. He was able to take down that second tier tower there on the bottom side. And if you look at the goal too, like it seems like RRQ Hoji is managing pretty well up against the Burmese schools here, but it's not that.
Oke, diambil ultinya Ruby, Valentina.
Yeah, 1,000 gold lead at least here for the side of RRQ. If they manage to take this Lord, this should be at least a little bit more space for them to.
Ya, ini udah free Lord ya, udah gak ada yang gangguin.
Again, the space for their side, and not to mention, like if you look at Skylar's
Sepertinya lancar ya teman-teman ya. Alhamdulillah. Ini Bruno-nya bahaya nih. Oh, tahu Skylar situ ada orang, so.
11 minutes in, you're quite beefy on this Claude here for Skylar, and it's showing, right? A lot of the times, even if Brusco was out there, you know, some people might be like, "Oh, Brusco, what are you doing?" But a lot of the times, he's actually able to be a nuisance so much on this Minotaur.
Oke, ini Bruno-nya bisa di ini nih. Bruno-nya didorong sampai ke turret base biar bisa ngambil yang turret tengah bisa. Tarik ses gak dapat, oke, aman. Oke, ditarik balik. Zoning. Tinggal tabrak. Oke, Paquito-nya nge-split push. Hati-hati Paquito-nya. Paquito-nya panis dulu sih, bro. Paquito-nya panis dulu sih, bro. Wah, Paquito-nya kelihatan, Bang. Kayak Paquito-nya siapa tuh yang di aura, cuy? Oke, kita coba review itemnya dulu ya. Cloud masih sama, Paquito. Oh iya, bener kan, Paquito Hunter Strike sama si Halberd, guys. Sisanya pistol. Sama ini nggak tahu mau bikin apa. Valentina standar, Bruno masih standar, masih kayak yang dulu. Nana. Oh, Nananya Okta emang pakai Genius sama Glowing guys. Jadi dia nggak beli buku, cuy. Dia nggak beli buku ya. Genius sama Glowing tuh dari apa namanya? Yang game pertama juga kayak gitu itemnya. Kayak split push. Cloud tuh enak banget tuh buat split push. Itu udah aku kirim memenya. Kirim di mana, Bang Ferdiansa? Navi itu tim Dota 2 kan? Tim Dota 2 kan, Bang? Yang kemarin sempet ikut M series juga, cuman M yang keberapa gitu lupa. Cetas. Oh, faksiannya kena. Oke, Purify, Skylar. Saksanya mati. Paquito-nya masuk. Dorong, cetas. Oke, Baxia pun sekarang udah nggak ada apa-apa, coba udah tembus tuh sama ininya. MLBB, iya itu MLBB, ada tim Navi juga, Bang, yang MLBB, Bang.
Which is exactly why RRQ was willing to commit that clash. Like Saxa.
Oke, tinggal Lord menit 12 harusnya ini udah bisa minimal tembus lah ya sampai turret base-nya pecah. Soalnya udah ada yang skill ngedash. Iya, divisi Dota. Iya, Navi terkenalnya Dota ya, seingatku ya. Scalarnya udah pistol.
It's gonna be the first enhanced Lord of the game. 14 minutes in, RRQ.
Baksiannya udah mau cari-cari nabrak ini.
Burmese Ghouls, do they actually want to try to pull something off? Saxa could come down to it. Nico holding on to that Ruby ultimate once again.
Oke, banannya datang. Oke, dapat irat, nice, langsung bantai. Oke, baksiannya mati, dapat satu hero, set stun, set tarik, just, oke. Flicker, ngedashnya ke cancel tadi tuh. Anjir, ngelamun Ira digebukin. Nana meresahkan, lumayan Bang. Sekarang udah masuk meta. Gue seneng sih hero favorit gue soalnya Nana guys ya. Nana sama Chang'e bro.
that particular moment when Saksa was gonna try to go in. Like you see DLARR and Stitch gonna try to make a move on that mid lane, but it's a little bit too late now because Enhanced Lord for the side of RRQ, they can take all of the inhibitors here. They don't have a good amount of.
Oke, Irat Immortal.
Irad gonna get. He's gonna get.
Cetas, oke, ulti. Baksianya mati. Iratnya masih low, masih aman, masih selamat. Lordnya masih jalan, belum mati. Flashing duet. Scalar. Balik dulu cuy. Low. Turun dulu bro. Cetas, oke. Brusco-nya mati tapi tuker 2 sama turret cuy. Jadi masih oke lah, masih worth it guys. Masih worth it cuy. Ah, dapat turret lagi. Nice. Tembak. DLARR-nya mati. Soalnya pakai itu damage kalau digebukin di late game udah jadi tempe guys. Enaknya di early doang itu bantai-bantai mid lane apa god lane cuy. Cuman kalau udah late game susah sih. Susah cok. MM zaman sekarang kalau udah late game pasti ada WON sama Immortal jadi susah cuy. Pakitonya, oh iya bener dia mau bikin BOD kayaknya ya. Pakitonya mau bikin BOD cuy.
What they need to be able to go up against your opponents. But what RRQ Hoshi has here?
Ini next lordnya harusnya udah bisa end karena turret base-nya udah nggak ada.
Like 2 hits onto Saksa. He also has the Athena's shield there, so even that wasn't able to counter it out. And not to mention, I just noticed his emblem here right now. That additional burn that you get.
Waduh, geledek cuy.
From that emblem from Okta. So kinda.
Oh, ini Cloud-nya udah nggak pakai sepatu guys, udah pakai Windtalker cuy. Kalau udah yang jago, kalau udah late game biasanya sepatunya dijual ya. Soalnya kalau pasifnya full stock juga dia dapat movement speed jadi lumayan. Tapi gua nggak berani cuy. Nggak berani gua. Oke, setup Lordnya 15 detik keluar. Ini harusnya itemnya udah nggak terlalu beda jauh guys ya, kan udah late game cuy. Oke, dapat vision, BURMESE goal. Oke, Lordnya langsung di start.
With a Ruby or even a Fredrin, right? So this is going to be a Lord.
Buset, Cloud-nya cepet banget.
Unless Burmese Ghouls can do something about it. But even Saksa just trying to get some of this vision.
Cloud-nya yang ngambil Lordnya cuy. Oke, datang semua.
They might try to make it a miracle play. If they can
Cancel, reset.
positioning here is going to be crucial as they approach this, but right now RQ, yeah, DLARR.
Wah, DLARR-nya kenapa cok? Wait, DLARR-nya kenapa guys? Oh Nana, Nana sama Cloud anjay. Ah, ini DLARR-nya balik nih saatnya nih. XP-nya udah nggak ada, nice, aman. Oke. Nih kalau udah main turnamen kayak gini guys ya, main 5 ya, hilang satu hero aja lagi recall bisa digas guys. Soalnya udah nggak ada XP-nya bro. Pakitonya nggak ada, otomatis backlanernya aman untuk RRQ ya, Nana sama Cloud-nya cuy. Jadi tadi DLARR kena poke, balik recall, Lordnya langsung di all in. Nice timing bro. Jadi nggak harus nge-kill cuy. Nggak harus nge-kill, yang penting kita sekaratin recall, nah baru kita gas. Sisanya yang masih ada di situ kita gas aja bro. Makanya kadang gue sering marah-marah bro, bukan marah-marah sih sebenarnya, short call bro. Short call langsung gas gitu, dibilang gak sabaran gue. Momentumnya mahal bro. Iratnya mati, Immortal. Oke, turret, Lordnya masih jalan. Oke, Guinevere mati. Oke, game 2 mulus guys ya. RRQ rapi sekarang gak kayak season 12, rapi lumayan, alhamdulillah bro. Ini gimana nih nasibnya BURMESE goal bro?
Yeah, I mean he was the one that's soaking up all the damage. I mean he's the first one taken out. Like if you
Asik, EVOS Glory kalah sama Onyx Pro di game DL becir. EVOS di sini. EVOS di sana. Oh ya, jam 11 nanti ada Onyx guys, cuman gua nggak bakalan nobar karena emang jam 11 malam banget bro. Yang beneran aja bro. Keluarnya rapi sih sekarang RRQ.
times that DLARR actually tried to go for Octa, right? But he had to deal with the passive too of the Nana. Like, oh wait, no, I can't take it down yet. It still has that passive, and it's really what makes it difficult here for Burmese schools too. The damage dealers of RRQ Hoshi were so hard to catch. Like Skylar, you could just BMI out. Octa here has
Oke,
that
aman,
passive,
aman.
plus the tanky
Oke, jam
frontline
11
of
turu.
RRQ.
Iya, yang bener
That's
aja
so
ngantuk dong. Iya, ngantuk Bang, jam 11 Bang.
answer it out here up against the side of RQ Hoshi once it reached the
Ah, ini
mid-pass.
delarnya ya. Makanya gue bilang ya, XP laner yang damage zaman sekarang itu susah guys. Bukannya gimana, bukannya meremehkan atau bukannya gimana bro. Kalau mungkin kalian mainnya solo rank atau main trio masih oke tuh yang XP damage. Kalau yang XP damage itu bagusnya di early doang. Kalau udah late game kayak gini posisi kalah susah bro. Kamu mau ngelock siapa juga bakalan mati bang. Susah bang. Game 1 diturunin Bruno, game 2 diturunin Claude. Iya Bang Pratama ya. Jadi pertanyaannya udah kejawab ya Bang MT Bot ya, Puh MT Bot ya. Yin XP kalau di early bagus, tapi kalau udah late game rada susah bro. Rada susah. Kalau mau ngepick Yin XP damage mainnya cepet. Game 1 diturunin Bruno, kemarin diturunin Layla. Iya Bang, ngeri banget Skylar bro, Skylar Prime bro. GG Sabrone RRQ PH player ada lagi yang ngomong gitu. Indo without player victim, waduh. Ada juga yang ngomong kayak gini. Ya udah guys ya.
Yeah, for both Brusco and Irad, they kind of understood the assignment here.
Anjay, pollingnya RRQ menang. Oke, 27 suara. Thank you guys. Sudah dulu guys. Karena ini matchnya udah kelar ya, lumayan cepat. Alhamdulillah nggak banyak iklan dan nggak banyak fillernya. Kalau kayak MPL kan biasanya ada wawancara, ada sponsor, ada analis. Menurut gua bukan digendong orang Filipina sih. Ya biasa aja sih, Filipina menurut gua standar lah. Standar bro. Itu semua tergantung timnya, itu tergantung tim bro. Oke, udah dulu guys, thank you semuanya. Masih nonton yang udah like, udah subscribe, thank you guys. Bang Pratama mau Discord nggak bang? Ada Bang Pratama, ada Bang Ferdiansyah. Makasih Bang Ferdiansyah udah nonton sampai akhir ya. Ada Nu, ada Purina SMP, ada Tepuh MT Bot, ada Bang Jimmy, ada Bang Noik, ada Bang Meteran, ada Bang Mufid, ada Bang Ahmad, ada RRQ,